Okay, it's game time.
Shoot!
Get down!
Hasta luego.
I have this.
Feast on this!
What up, it's Shankster94, and welcome to my ultimate weapon showcase of Resident Evil Code Veronica, specifically Code Veronica X. So if you want to get straight to the weapons, I highly suggest following this timestamp on the screen, as I have quite a bit to say beforehand. Just keep in mind the entire showcase contains my voice, so there's no avoiding that in this video. So, Resident Evil Code Veronica is a bit of a turning point in the series, especially in the graphics department. It is the first game to be released for the 6th generation of video gaming, and the first to use real-time 3-dimensional environments instead of pre-rendered backgrounds. It returns to the classic fixed camera style of the original trilogy, but with new dynamic camera movement. Audio-wise, it does have a distinguishable soundtrack and some unique sound effects, but it also reuses many sound bites from Resident Evil 2. I think this might be because development for this game began even before Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, and was originally going to be the 3rd Resident Evil game. Someone with more extensive knowledge could clarify that. The X in the title was added starting with the PS2 port of the game and all subsequent ports after adding some new cutscenes that reveal more details about Wesker's involvement with Umbrella. CVX also relates to Resident Evil 2 in the weapons category, with a couple returning weapons and a set of custom parts for a handgun, as well as having the same total number of weapons in the game. The traditional slotted inventory system returns as well. Now, let me tell you specifically how I'm playing Resident Evil Code Veronica for this showcase. I am playing the GameCube version through the Dolphin emulator on PC. Internal game resolution is set to 4K with a widescreen hack to remove the standard black pillars of 4x3 without stretching the picture during real-time gameplay. Static elements such as the inventory will still be stretched, but the general experience will be minimally affected. To fit right in with the visual supremacy of this second remaking era of mine, I'm once again using an HD texture replacement pack made specifically for Code Veronica on the Dolphin emulator. This mod sharpens most of the textures of the entire game to a level that not even the HD remaster of this game on Xbox 360 and PS3 could match. Speaking of which, in case you're wondering why I'm not playing that version of the game, it's mostly because that version can't be internally upscaled to 4K. And looking back on my previous showcase of this game's weapons, where I played the HD version, it also has mediocre lighting. The only stuff it really has over what I'm playing right now are the static graphics, such as the main menu and inventory interface. Now, a bit of fun info about me and Code Veronica before I get to my weapon routine. This is in fact the 3rd time I'm showcasing this game's weapons in my channel history. The previous time, as I've already mentioned, was for the HD remaster on Xbox 360, and served as a remake of a much earlier OG weapon review of Code Veronica that I made on the native PS2. The HD review will remain on the channel, just branded obsolete. But if you want to watch the OG review, you can click on the card showing up on the screen right now, or if you don't have time or are not on a compatible device, you'll have to visit my TGS Classics channel, which by the way is officially discontinued, as I've decided to keep any and all videos currently on the channel. So now to go over my structured procedure for showcasing the weapons of Code Veronica. To assist, I will use clips from my previous weapon review so you can also compare the visual quality. Before anything, I will arrange the weapons into categories loosely based on weapon classes and place them in a rough order of firepower. If there's more than one weapon in a category, then they will be showcased in order of obtaining them. CVX contains a knife, 9mm pistols, machine guns, a shotgun, a sniper rifle, a magnum revolver, a bowgun, which is this game's one and only miscellaneous weapon, and a few explosive launchers. I start showcasing by introducing each weapon in the inventory. If the weapon is the first of a firearm category, then I'll first check out the ammunition of that weapon class. I'll then inspect the weapon and read its in-game description. If the weapon has been featured in any Resident Evil game prior to the current one, I'll make sure to mention that. Afterwards, I'll provide an image of the weapon's real-life counterpart if applicable. A disclaimer for all weapon showcases on the channel is the source of my IRL weapon information. I use the Internet Movie Firearms Database, an online weapon wiki for movies, TV, and video games whose pages can be edited by virtually anyone, which carries the risk of inaccuracy when claiming the real-life versions of game weapons. People watching my vids who dabble in weaponry may feel inclined to call out those potential errors, but there's nothing I can reasonably do once the video is uploaded. From there, I'll proceed to reveal where in the game the weapon is found, whether you start straight off with it, find it at a specific location in the game, or unlock it as a reward by meeting certain criteria when playing or completing the game. I'll also mention if the weapon can be used or found in this game's one and only minigame, Battle Game. After all that, we'll finally witness the weapon being handled by the main characters of the game. I'll proceed to test fire the weapon in a safe, enemy-free, well-lit area with a close-up angle that I like to call the hub, which I'll give a brief tour of after this intro. While test firing, I will add an optimized slow motion effect to one or more of the shots fired, with automatic fire getting a speed boost and explosions getting a reverse effect. After emptying the weapon, I'll perform the satisfying reload animation. One of the unique features of the battle game is the option to switch to a first-person perspective, so any weapon found there will also get a brief clip of it being fired and reloaded in first person. If a character of the opposite sex can also wield the weapon, which in this game's case is all of them, I will quickly demonstrate them using the weapon as well. After that, I'll proceed to test the firepower of the weapon on a chosen enemy. Traditionally, I use a variety of enemies depending on the weapon category, and will keep to the same enemy for every weapon of said category. A typical scenario is using zombies for the weakest weapons, mass-produced BOWs for intermediate weapons, and boss-type enemies for the strongest artillery. This will guarantee a steady flow for all weapon tests, as the primary focus of these showcases is to simply show the weapons of the game, with weapon damage to enemy health ratios being non-integral. After reviewing the results of the enemy test and comparing them to past weapons, I will declare the current weapon concluded, and share available in-game cutscenes depicting it being used or fired. This will smoothly transition into the next weapon of the lineup, and the process restarts. Something to note though, there are 2 weapons in this game that are upgradable by their own individual means, so I will be overviewing them twice, both with and without their enhancement. Upon reviewing all weapons of the game, I'll add the total number of them to the overall total weapon count of the series, and then announce the next game to have its weapon lineup gloriously showcased by yours truly. So now to briefly give y'all a tour of my selected hubs for this weapon showcase. First, we got Claire Redfield's main hub. This is the first save room you'll come across at the Antarctic base. And as you can see in this obscure hallway that leads to a grated floor peering into Alexander Ashford's prison, there's a really good close-up of Claire. While the lighting may be better in other places, the emulator does a great job in brightening even the darkest areas, so you'll still get a great look at the weapons here. Now for Chris Redfield's hub, I've decided to use the same one for my HD weapon review, the Underground Power Distribution Room, also in the Antarctic base. In slight contrast to Claire's hub, Chris's may not be the straightest or closest angle, but the lighting is superb. And finally, Claire will have a secondary hub for weapons that are first obtained by Chris, and this will also be the same spot as my HD review. There's really no good alternative for Claire at this point in the game. Alrighty folks, I can never appreciate your patience enough if you're one to watch every waking second of these videos, because I know certain people's minds just can't sit still enough to absorb all of it. But wait no longer, because it's finally time to deep dive into the weapons of Resident Evil Code Veronica X. To kick it off, as always, we're going to start with the non-firearms. The one and only one in this game is the combat knife. Get a nice close-up of it. This weapon is a veteran survivor's first choice. Okay. Interesting description. Nothing about what it's capable of. Alright, so it's definitely some sort of combat knife. Here is a real-life variant, just to compare. Alright, so just like Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the knife isn't in your inventory right at the start of the game. However, it is located at the start of the game. You just have to make sure you pick it up off this desk here. Now, when you switch over to Chris Redfield, he does start straight off with the knife. However, there is a secondary location for the knife on the second floor of the main hall here. You just come over here, and here it is, sticking into the floor. And finally, if you did remember to bring Chris's knife to this location, in the aftermath of the battle, that knife that was sticking in the floor will now be down at the first floor, because as you can see, that part of it collapsed. And it's worth mentioning that every playable character in Battle Game gets the knife in their loadout. Of course, to give you some sort of chance in the event that you run out of ammo. Let's check it out in game. Here's Claire holding it. Looking really nice at this angle. And of course, I'm not going to forget to show all character poses with weapons as well. So let's get Claire's pose with it. There you go. Now, to test it out, I'm going to have to get out of this narrow corridor because it is too narrow to test a knife out on. I'm going to test it out here in the open. Here we go. Alright, so that's cool. The slashing speed is a little faster than all the previous games we've seen so far. Just to note, this game does not have a quick-fire maneuver like the classic trilogy. Instead, you just have to tap the fire button more than once, and it'll automatically attack again, as long as you keep tapping and holding it after each sequential slash or shot. Alright, so being the very first weapon of the game, we're obviously going to test it on the most basic enemies. We're going to test it on some zombies. Now, knife play in this game is ridiculous. And the reason I say that is because in this game, when you slash at an enemy, there's a chance you could hit the enemy more than once. That one was a little easier to keep up with, but yeah, no matter what zombie I tested it on, it was nearly impossible to keep track of the individual slashes it was actually taken because, as you saw, some of those slashes hit them multiple times. You could probably get up to 5 hits in a single slash. That's very difficult, but based on my own observation, I'm assuming it's gonna average between like 10 and 13 slashes, but we'll see what the numbers say when I display them on the screen for you during the individual tests. But yeah, that's the knife. Now, just seeing that, I was struggling to use it in a restricted capacity. That just shows you how overpowered it is. If you just go ham with this thing, you can cause some major damage. Let me show you. It's better if you actually aim for the feet because you could avoid getting hit. Like that. Immediately killed him, just like that. Just took 2 actual slashes, but multiple hits. The risk about going for the feet like that, though, is there's a chance they'll hit you. Alright, so some went down very easily, some did not. So you do have a range here. But in almost any circumstance, this knife is one of the most overpowered in the entire franchise. I can tell you from experience, and a lot of people will agree with that. Alright, that is gonna conclude the combat knife.
I've got you now.
Alright, let's turn on the heat for this weapon showcase. Moving into the firearms. First, as always, semi-automatic pistols. But being the first of the class, let's first go over the ammunition, the handgun bullets. 9mm by 19 rounds. These can be used with the M93R and the Glock 17, which are the two main pistols of the game. And yes, we return to the red box. Now, it's not the same exact red box as Resident Evil 2 and 3. As you can see, this has American Wolf. But just the general idea of a red box pertaining to handgun ammo, that is what you're going to see a lot throughout this franchise. All right, now let's go over the actual weapon, the handgun, Claire's handgun to be specific. M93R, which stands for Raffica, an Italian handgun which uses 9mm by 19 rounds. Like that description. And here's the 3D model. All right. So yes, this of course is based on the real-life Beretta 93R, or Raffica. There you go. So the Beretta 93R is unique in the sense of how you acquire it. While you don't start straight off with it, it does show up relatively early in the game. You get it by triggering this cutscene that's playing right now, and as you can see, Claire picks it up. The thing is, you will trigger this cutscene no matter what when you walk into this area, and you'll always end it with acquiring the handgun. So this is the first weapon in the franchise that you're scripted to pick up. And it's worth mentioning that Claire also has the Beretta in her loadout and battle game. Now, this is the one and only weapon in this game that also has a set of custom parts. Let's go over these real quick, the M93R part. The M93R can be modified with this. Really now? Alright. The location of the Beretta's custom parts are on the first floor of the prison, specifically the crematorium. As you can see, there's a little texture glitch happening right there. Here you'll find a duralumin case. And hopefully you have the lockpick at this point, because that's the only way to open it. Use the lockpick on the duralumin case, and boom, there's the parts. Alrighty, so here it is in game, Claire holding it. Let's get the character poses with it. And now let's go ahead and test it out. All right, so yeah, fire rate is pretty high in this game. Probably why there is no quick shot maneuver, because the fire rate's already pretty good. All right, being a pistol, we're also gonna test these on zombies, so let's go. Okay, so between these 3 zombies in this room, it took 5 to 12 shots. Now, a disclaimer, that's gonna cover all the weapons of this game right here and now. I did this same exact test 3 times off camera prior to recording this clip, and there was no consistency whatsoever. So, any sort of fixed variable that existed in all the Resident Evil games up until now does not exist anymore, as far as I'm concerned. Either the enemies do have a fixed rate still, but now the weapon has variable rate, or vice versa. Enemy variable rate, weapon fixed rate. Something is off here, because there is no consistency whatsoever. So yeah, these are very vague results that we're gonna get here. So I am emphasizing heavily, do not take these results at face value, because there's too many variables involved. So that's why I'm giving you guys an average range for the shots. And just use my tried and true formula, add and subtract 5 from the amount of shots it initially took me to defeat these enemies, and it should cover all of your bases for that enemy at least. Alright, well, that's gonna conclude the regular Beretta 93R. Now we're gonna go back to the hub and check it out with the parts attached. Let's combine the parts. Now we got the custom handgun. Whoa, and a lot of options here. Let's check it out. M93R Burst. It's an M93R equipped with a stock. It could be adjusted to fire 3 bullets in succession. Thanks for adding that last bit. I was worried they were gonna end it on that second line. But no, that's an adequate description, I'll give it that. Looking really good here. I noticed that one of the individual parts appears to be a compensator of sorts on the barrel there. All right. Now the thing is, it's not fully loaded. Now it is. There's no trick with the parts that gives you automatic full ammo, like Resident Evil 2 when you combine custom parts. All right, and here's an IRL image of the same weapon now. Now, I don't know why they give me the use option on this weapon. I have no idea why that's there. But auto and manual, similar to RE2 with the VP70, manual just reverts it back to semi-automatic, while auto leaves it in burst mode. All right, so here's Claire once again holding it, now with the parts attached to it. Let's once again get her pose, and Chris's as well. All right, and let's test it out once more, now with the parts. With the way it is now, if you time it correctly, you could have full auto. That's insane. It's a good thing I have a ton of ammo right now, because otherwise I would have ate through it really fast. That, of course, is the drawback with this weapon. You may end up eating through your ammo. But don't worry, just with the sheer amount that I have right now, even after all that, clearly the game gives you enough. Now, I highly doubt the parts are gonna do anything to its firepower, but you never know, so let's go ahead and test it out again on zombies. Alright, so between 6 and 13 shots with the burst variant of the M93R in itself indicates it just got weaker. But no, as I said, the variables are too much in this game, and what really changes is how fast you can defeat the enemies now that you have burst fire. But raw firepower, I don't think there's a difference here. Alrighty, that is going to completely conclude the Beretta M93R.
Sorry about that little misunderstanding, but I thought you were another one of those
Shut up. Make one wrong move and I'll shoot.
I was a prisoner on this island. And I'm guessing you're not from Umbrella either.
No, I'm Claire. Claire Redfield.
What are you doing here?
Now for the next semi-automatic pistol, the M100P. It's a pair of them. A semi-automatic pistol which has a large-sized special magazine. This handgun enables precise rapid shooting with little recoil. All right, pretty good there. Yeah, they look pretty nice here. So now's the time I break this game a little bit. Just like the first couple games, there is unused ammo for certain weapons that don't normally have available ammo. Here's one of them. So the M100P did have bullets made for it for the game. You can only access these through Action Replay or Gecko codes. This is GameCube. So here are the Calico bullets. And as you can see, it even says Calico M100P. So they put effort into designing these and everything. Now let's read the description. A large size magazine to be used with the M100P. Now, I tested this off camera. Unfortunately, there is no reload animation associated with these. However, if you do empty the weapon, you can combine them with the weapon and it will replenish it. So they are usable, just no animation was built to see it in action, unfortunately. All right, just needed to quickly mention that. So, while this is the first time we've seen this specific weapon, we did see something similar to it in Resident Evil 2 with the unusable weapon, the Calico M950. This is probably because they're developed by the same people, Calico. That being said, the M100P is based on the real-life Calico Model 100P, naturally. The location of the M100Ps are in the barracks bunkhouse in the prison. You come in here, And as you'll hear and see, there's a zombie knocking on this window. Now to trigger it coming through, you have to pick up these handgun bullets that are right here. And this cutscene plays out. And as you can see, this zombie drops the M100Ps. Once you defeat it or get around it, you pick them up and there you go. So it's worth mentioning that in Battle Game, both Chris and Steve have a chance at getting the Calico M100Ps in the slot machine right here. Now it's completely RNG based on the moment you enter the room. It's a small struggle, but yeah, eventually I got it. So here we have them equipped in game with Claire. I don't know if she can do her pose with this equipped, but let's find out. Yes, she can. Guns against her hips. All right. Now let's give it the old test. There is no reloading them, unfortunately. So yep, let's go ahead and jump into the enemy test. Let's test these on some zombies. Alright, so that second test was awesome because I was able to do 2 zombies at one time with the split aim. So, one took 4, one took 9, and the last took 11. So there's your average right there. That's gonna end the M100P. Now for the next pistol, another handgun. This is Chris's main handgun. Glock 17, a large size handgun that uses 9mm by 19 rounds. So I guess the only thing that separates it from Claire's is this one's large size. Alright, this has been seen before in the previous game, Survivor. Exactly the same weapon. And this, of course, is based off the second generation Glock 17. So unlike Claire and her handgun, Chris does start straight off with this in his inventory. There is no picking this up. So let's go ahead and look at it in game here. Looking nice. And let's get his pose with it and others. Alright, now let's test it out. Alright, same exact fire rate as Claire's handgun. Go figure. Let's go ahead and test this one out on a zombie. Alright, so, according to that test on those 3 zombies, it could take anywhere between 5 and 10 shots with Chris's Glock. Now, I guarantee if I had that Glock with Claire in the Antarctic base on the zombies that she tests against, it's possible it could still take up to 13. I'm not sure if there's a firepower difference between the 2 pistols. The fact that the inconsistency is so dramatic, it's almost impossible to tell, unfortunately. So yeah, no fixed statistic here, but it does have average firepower for a handgun, I'll give it that. Alright, now let's return to the hub and check it out with its enhancement. Alright, so here is the enhanced handgun. And the way you get this is you have to take Chris's regular version of the handgun to a certain room which has a workshop, or work desk, whatever, and you simply have to follow the prompt and upgrade your gun. Here it is, let's check it out now. It doesn't look any different, all they did was rotate the icon. Here too. Modified Glock 17. It's a modified Glock 17.
Modified Glock 17. It's a modified Glock 17. And I remembered how stupid that description was. Modified Glock 17. It's a modified Glock 17. Wow.
So when I very first went over this weapon in my OG review, I think this was the very first time that a description or lack thereof actually destroyed some of my brain cells. I mean, you got the message, right? That it's an enhanced Glock 17. Just in case you didn't get it the first 2 times. All right. Appearance-wise, it really isn't gonna look any different, even when I fire it. But now that I'm going over this game's weapons for the 3rd time, I finally understand what exactly the enhancement is. It basically just has a higher critical rate, or a powerful shot, and it has a piercing ability. So I'm gonna go ahead and shoot it right now. Right there. You see that last shot? There was a little bit of extra juice on that muzzle fire, and that is what happens when the special shot occurs. So when it comes to raw firepower, I'm actually not sure if there's any difference. It's just a matter of getting that special shot now. So enemy testing is gonna be pretty quick here, but let's get to it. All right, as you just witnessed, I only fired 2 shots, and that second shot had the special juice with it, and it defeated both of these zombies, just like that. One of them had not received any damage whatsoever, but was killed just like that through piercing power, no doubt. So that is the specialty of this weapon. It's not about firepower, as I'll try on this 3rd zombie. What the hell? Why is it dead? Okay, so I just discovered something. This zombie is dead, which the only possible way it was, because when I come into this room to test against zombies, all 3 of them are here, he's dead. And judging from the direction I was aiming, if you recall, which was like right here, roughly, in that direction, if I walk towards there, okay, it looks like there is an open window here. That is what must have happened, actually. That makes more sense. When you look at it here, yeah, it's 2 broken windows here, and at the angle I was aiming, the zombie was standing in the hallway. It's still quite a miracle shot, though, when you look at it, because the zombie wasn't standing right there. He's standing on the other side of that wall, which means it had to have been a very narrow opening for him to be hit by that piercing shot. I couldn't have demonstrated it better than that. So, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and conclude the Glock. It's one badass weapon once you have that ability. All right, now for the final set of pistols, the gold Lugers. The grip is nicely decorated. It uses 30 Luger rounds. Okay, uses different ammunition, so we're once again not gonna see a reload of this weapon. Now at base level, these are based off of the Luger P08. However, there is a specific model or version they are designed after. Apparently, Marushin P08 Hermann Goring models. They have this really intricate design, as you can see, the same exact one. And what's even more awesome is Tokyo Marui did make replicas of these. So you first come across the gold Lugers in the collection display room on the 1st floor of the palace. However, if you try to take them as is right now, this is what happens. You'll get trapped in here, and it's very indicative of danger. Like, this is not a healthy room to be in now. So yeah, you cannot just willy-nilly take them like that, you gotta replace them. Of course, following key events in the game, Steve will trade the gold Lugers with you for a pair of Ingrams. However, you still can't use the gold Lugers since you can't reload them. Now, the only way to use the gold Lugers yourself is to play as Steve in the battle game, as they are part of his loadout. You can equip them with Claire in the main game, but you never find ammo for it, so there's no using them. They're mostly a key item in the main game. So, we'll go ahead and test it on some zombies here in battle game. It's not going to be a fair comparison to the other pistols since it's not main game, but basic zombie health I think is pretty average, regardless of what mode it is. And a special feature about these gold Lugers is if you pull the trigger as soon as you're aiming upward, it's apparently 100% critical every time. Alright, well that shows you right there. These are pretty special in battle game. Make it pretty easy with him. Well, that's all there is to show for the gold Lugers, since he's the only one who could use them. Of course, as you saw in some of those tests, he could split his aim, too, since it's a dual-wielded weapon.
That was too close. But I found something, thanks to you. Looks cool, huh?
Oh, I need those. Give them to me.
You gotta be kidding. I found it, and I'm keeping it. Fine. Let's make a deal. I'll trade you for something fully automatic. See you around, Claire. Adios.
Hey, wait, Steve!
Thought I wouldn't make it.
Oh, I need those. Give them to me.
You gotta be kidding. I found it, and I'm keeping it. Fine. Let's make a deal. I'll trade you for something fully automatic. I'll see you around, Claire. Adios.
Hey, wait, Steve!
I made it. That was too close. What took you so long?
Oh, I need those. Give them to me.
Fine. But let's make a deal. I'll trade you for something fully automatic. I'll see you around, Claire. Adios.
Hey, wait, Steve!
Don't worry, Claire. Your knight in shining armor is here.
You wish. But thanks for the help.
See? This is why you need me. Machine guns? For me?
You know the deal. In exchange for your Lugers.
Okay.